I was elected to this position in 2016, and over the last 4 years, have been able to move the needle in District 5 like none other. I have the distinct honor of being the voice for the voiceless of District 5, the most marginalized and disenfranchised communities here in our county. And so I'm super excited and passionate about advocating for our students and our staff. I've been a very vocal advocate over the last 2 years. And over the next 4 years, I certainly expect to make an even greater impact. Thank you for allowing me to serve you, and I look forward to continuing that service.
Good. I'm Henry Shake Washington, and I'm running for Hillsborough County School Board District 5. I was born and reared in Tampa, Florida. I'm a 1968 graduate of George S. Milton High School. I'm married, have two wonderful kids. I say kids, but they really are adults. My wife was in the school system for 41 years, and my kids, one is a doctor and one is in the school system himself. So I'm really ready, and I want to tell you this part first. I did 42 years. I did 42 years in the school system. And I also did 22 years in the Florida Army National Guard, which a lot of people don't know. And I enjoyed every minute of it, because while I was in the Army, while I was in the school system, I was also in the Florida Army National Guards. And the reason why I'm running, because I think experience does matter, because it gives me a whole new insight about operations and running of a school, because I started off as an assistant teacher and I ended up as an area superintendent. And I've been a principal of 2 different schools, Milton High School as well as Chamberlain High School. So it gives me the insight on operation and functioning of a school, which is very important. And I want to say this to you and Veronica. I was 5-time principal of the year, but 3 times by the PTSA. So, you know, I believe in the PTSA, because you have to deal with the parents, the students, and the association in order to be successful. So, you know, I believe in equity in education. When I was growing up, we didn't have all the equity, because I went to a predominantly Black high school. So equity in education is giving a person what they need to succeed. I believe in teacher quality is one of mine, because it's putting the most effective teacher in front of students. Also school funding, which is very important, because we get $9,075 per student. And I also believe in community engagement, because I believe the community should be involved with the operation of the school. And that's who I am. I mean, that's what I believe in. In District 5, we need it. Yes, I am. I'm a PTSA member of Seminole, Foster, and Palm River. And you know, and I want to say this kind of quickly here, because I know I like to talk now. So when I was a high school principal, I paid for my teachers to be in the PTSA, because being in high school is PTSA. So I paid for my teachers to be in the PTSA. And then one time I paid, because one time I had a staff of about 240 teachers. I couldn't pay $5 per teacher. So I paid half of their monies to get in there, and they paid the other half. So I believe in the PTSA and the PTA. In elementary is PTA.
Not a PTA member, but I am a big supporter of the PTA program. In fact, you know, in District 5, we have very little PTAs, unfortunately. And so I'm very proud that last year when I saw a need at James Elementary, which is, you know, really our lowest performing school in Hillsborough, I reached out to some community members who really wanted to get involved. And after that, we were able to put together a community PTA. And it really has been a great learning experience, learning about what the PTA does. You don't have to have kids in school. You just have to have a passion for wanting to help our students and our schools thrive. And so because of that, I certainly give all of our schools support, but one day I do actually would love the opportunity to become an active member of the PTA. As a school board member, certainly a duly elected school board member and constitutional officer, I support school choice. However, I certainly do not support for-profit charters or using vouchers to go to public schools where one, discrimination can be allowed, and also where there's, in most cases, a lack of accountability. And so what I've had the honor of doing over the last 4 years is advocating in Tallahassee to really help close some of those loopholes. But one thing I really focus on as your school board member is first and foremost, making sure that our schools, our traditional public schools, are the first and the best choice for our families. And we've done very well at doing that. In fact, over 90% of our families choose traditional public schools. But whatever schools our families choose, hopefully it's our public schools first, but if it's a charter school, I only support the ones who put profit last. This has to be education first, in helping to shift what's happening in our communities.
I want you to know I'm a public school person. I went to public high school. All my family went to public high schools. I want to make that known. But we also have to realize the Florida legislature has dictated vouchers to private schools, and they also approval of charter schools. And I believe a parent has a right to send their kids to any school they want to. I mean, I believe in that. But what I don't agree with is they are not giving the kids their education what they should have, some of the schools, especially some of the charter schools, I should say. Because I think when a charter school operate, Veronica, it should operate just like the public school system. I mean, and it's not operating like that. Many of them are not. And as a school board member, I want to see a better vetting process. I want parents to be aware of the charter schools they are sending their kids to. Because, you know, charter school sounds good now, you know, and you know, you can go in, you can do that. You got less classes. It's a recruitment. But actually, when you get inside of the school and operation of the school and the function of the school, it's not like a public school system. And I think a lot of parents are being misled because of that reason. Okay, District 5, and I want people to understand this. In District 5, let's go Hillsborough County. Let's do Hillsborough County first, Veronica. Hillsborough County had 27 transformational schools. That's a lot of transformational schools. But guess what? Out of 27, 22 is in District 5. That's unacceptable. I mean, that's a huge gap. You're talking about a huge 22, and you know, and I did some math with it. And I want the PTSA and PTA to understand. I did a little math. Most elementary schools, because you have 19 elementary schools, then you have 2 middle schools, and you have 1 K-8 school. So when we're talking about elementary schools, what, about maybe 4 or 5, maybe 450 kids. If you take 19 schools, maybe 400 or 500 kids, you're talking about over 5,000 students who are not learning. That's phenomenal. You can't succeed like that. There's no possible way you can succeed. So what my plan is, and I know we can do it. What my plan is, you have to go K2. K2 is important because Veronica, K2 is literacy. And you have to have literacy when you're dealing with that, because and I'm talking from my principal hat now. You're dealing with literacy, you're dealing with reading, and you're dealing with writing, and you're dealing with math. And if you go K2, kindergarten is very important because you're building that bridge up higher now. And then when you go to kindergarten, then you go to first grade, you go to second grade, and then when you get to third grade for testing, you have 3 years in front of you. Let's go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna take you a little bit deeper right now. So we're going to go now. I think as a parent, when you're 4 or 5 years, parents should start their kids to read when you're 4 years old. Let them read the books that they like to read. You read, then you let them read to you. Now you're building their reading skills. And then you tell me about Little Red Robin Hood. Now you're building their cognitive development. So they tell you about it. Now that's with the parents. Then you go to pre-K. Now in pre-K, they're building literacy too. And then you move from pre-K, then you go to kindergarten. That's 3 years. Then you go to first grade. All that's building up. And by the time you get to second grade, you would have had 5 years of literacy, and then the kids are more developed. So when they get to the third grade, they'll be able to pass that exam. Now, that's my belief. I don't know if I mean, that's how I did our kids, you know. And I think that's important.
District 5 is home to our lowest performing schools, but I also like to say it is also home to our brightest and most promising students as well. We know that in District 5, we've had an issue with the achievement gap being very wide, where our minority students, especially our Black students, have generationally lagged behind their peers. And so we have worked hard over the last few years to close that achievement gap, to make sure that there's equity and to get our students exactly where they need to be. But one thing we have in District 5, we have phenomenal teachers that are dedicated and committed to getting our kids exactly where they need to be. Just like throughout the entire district here in Hillsborough County, we offer great programs and a lot of different things to help engage our students, which is why 90% of families in Hillsborough County choose our schools over their other available options. Well, over the last 4 years, many people have learned that I am the equity champion on the board, where I really fight hard and advocate to make sure that there is equity. As your school board member, it is my job to hold the superintendent accountable for making sure that we have practices, procedures, and even policies in place that will ensure equity. And so I have the honor of working side by side with the superintendent to ensure that's happening. Here in District 5, our greatest work towards equity is now our transformation zone. These are our highest need schools, the lowest performing 29 schools in Hillsborough County. I like to call them ICU schools. They get the most intensive support. And so this is how we're using equity. We're putting the best and the brightest in front of these students. As Addison Davis likes to say, we're taking a surgical approach to getting these kids what they need to lift them and to make sure that they're all high achieving. But as your board member, it is my responsibility to make sure that the superintendent is doing those things. And certainly over the last 4 years, I've done that.
Okay, you know, and what people don't realize, being a school board member, I know you have your district, but you're there for all kids because your vote counts. Even if they talk about District 6 or District 7, your vote counts. And one of the things that I've always said as an area superintendent now, I had the ability to do some, but as a school board member, I want to be able to hold the superintendent accountable for the students progressing, because that's his job. His job is to make sure that the schools equitable in education, facility, and whatever else we may have. So I want to hold the superintendent accountable. And also, you know what? In order to be successful too, you got to pay the teachers. I mean, you know, all this comes into play. You know, and I don't want to go there because I know we don't have money now, because I can go to that point too. But we have to have that superintendent to be responsible for his decisions he made for students and for students to be successful in the school system. He has to be accountable. And some of the question, okay, what are we doing for lower level students? What are we doing for those schools? What kind of money are we putting in there? Are we recruiting teachers who can teach and build a curriculum for those students? Are we building up K2? You know, those are things that's important for our school board members, the questions for them to have with the superintendent. And he has to be accountable. I mean, there's no other way. If he's not accountable, then we have lost the war.